It's Wednesday, January 21st. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Halifax is a top 3 city in Canada for the worst traffic in the country. Why a family that escaped war in Syria is now struggling in its Canadian home.
A snow-rain mix tomorrow is followed by the arrival of some bitter cold Friday night.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. Good to have you with us. Halifax commuters know driving around their city is trying, but they probably didn't know it was this bad. A new survey reveals the maritime capital has the 3rd worst traffic in the country, worse than cities even 3 times its size. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness has the numbers.
Traffic in Halifax isn't always bad, but when it is, it's terrible.
I remember, I think a year ago, they were doing work on the bridge, and I didn't really realize, so I was, I think, 2.5 hours on North Street.
GPS company TomTom just released their 2025 traffic index, and it shows many motorists in the city are experiencing the same thing. The average travel time for a 10-kilometer drive around the city is almost 26 minutes. That increases to 30 minutes and 18 seconds during morning rush hour and 33 minutes and 42 seconds during the evening commute. Over the course of the year, that translates into 111 hours people spent in their vehicles during rush hour, the equivalent of 4 days and 15 hours. That's 3 hours and 50 minutes more than in 2024. Nova Scotia's premier says there are things that can be done.
Looking at the high occupancy vehicle lanes for sure, looking at the synchronization and the flow of lights along major thoroughfares. So there are ways we can move things.
Digital message signs are also in place along major routes around the city, displaying travel times to various destinations.
It gives drivers a much better opportunity to make driving decisions that will save time.
The extra congestion can partially be connected to population growth and return to office policies. Dalhousie University traffic professor Hassan Habib believes the city needs to get people out of their cars and onto some form of transit for congestion to be alleviated.
We need alternative public transit, and the evolution of the city needs an evolution of transportation system, and public transit should be in that portfolio.
Until mass rapid transit options are in place, drivers in the city might as well get comfortable behind the wheel.
We need to break cycles and help people heal from addiction.
And Todd, there are 11 of those digital signs throughout the city. Steve Proctor says they appear to be working, and motorists can expect to see more of them in the coming years.
All right, and hopefully they'll help, John. Thank you very much for that. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness in Halifax for us this evening. A tractor-trailer fire shut down an exit on Nova Scotia Highway 101 today. This happened at around 11 o'clock this morning on the off-ramp at exit 13 near North Alton. That's in the Annapolis Valley. The back tires of the truck caught fire. The flames were quickly extinguished, though. There were no injuries. The exit on the busy highway was closed for a short time. It has since reopened. The man convicted in the hit-and-run death of a young girl in Cape Breton more than 6 years ago has been granted full parole. The family of 10-year-old Talia Forrest confirms the parole board's decision to CTV News today. The little girl had been riding her bike on Blackrock Road in July of 2019 when she was struck and killed by an SUV. 5 years later, the driver, Colin Hugh Tweedy, was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison for dangerous driving causing death, impaired driving causing death, and leaving the scene of an accident. Last June, Tweedy was granted day parole less than a year into his sentence. The sounds of generators are beginning to fade in parts of Nova Scotia. At this hour, just a couple of hundred customers remain in the dark. Many households and businesses along the south shore of the province went more than 2 days without power. CTV's Hafsa Arv spoke with some folks about it.
For 3 days, this generator kept Danny Bauer's home alive. Today, it finally gets shut off.
I'm very happy, very happy.
That relief comes after a long wait.
I woke up Monday morning to no power, and I said, uh-oh. And we called up and they said, we should be back on by dinner time. And it didn't go back on until this morning.
Bauer wasn't alone. Across the province, many lost power after heavy wet snow weighed down trees and power lines, hitting the South Shore especially hard.
We started like the rest of the province with massive outages. We had huge, tens of thousands of people without power with what looks like a normal, albeit heavy, but a normal amount of snow.
For residents, generators became a necessity, burning fuel around the clock in the middle of winter.
That's a long time, but I burn a pile of fuel. And there's older people than me down this road.
And when power stayed out, neighbors stepped in.
We help each other out. We all stick together. We're all good friends. We have people, everybody walking around with their generators going, wondering when the power's coming on.
At Town Hall, concern quickly shifted to what was happening behind the scenes.
Our water treatment plant had to run on a generator for over 24 hours. So that critical infrastructure just can't be without power for that long. And so we started with massive power failures and we're ending with a lot of questions as to why.
The mayor says most outages came down to trees, raising questions about prevention.
Repeatedly being told by Nova Scotia that their vegetation abatement program is going well, and then finding out that pretty much all the power outages that we saw were due to trees and limbs falling on power lines.
With most customers now reconnected, Bridgewater is warming back up, while the town pushes for answers on how a few hours of snow turned into days without power. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Bridgewater.
Here's a live look at downtown Fredericton right now. Officer Square, -7 degrees. A few minutes after 6 o'clock, we bring in Kaylin Mitchell. This is a good night to have the power on, no matter where you are, because it is chilly.
Yeah, it is going to be a cold night across the maritime region. Of course, it's already cold out there for this evening. Let's start off by taking a look at some current temperatures and some wind chill values, because there is still a breezy and in some places blustery wind blowing as well. We can see the temperature there at Fredericton, as Todd noted, sitting at -7. So is St. John, -8 at Moncton, though. We already have some communities in the north and in the east of New Brunswick that are already sitting closer to -10. It's cold for Summerside and Charlottetown. Prince Edward Island sitting at -8 right now. Sydney and Cape Breton reporting a temperature of -9. Halifax -5, and Yarmouth in the southwest of Nova Scotia sitting at -2. Here's what it feels like if you're stepping outside. So this is wind chill values, taking into account both the temperature and the winds, and you can see that it's feeling several degrees below zero and even down to the -teens for a good portion of the Maritimes. That includes the north and east of Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and most of New Brunswick. If you're heading out tonight, as far as the overall weather conditions go, there'll be some increasing cloudiness. There is a snow squall that's set up right along the northern coastline or shoreline there of the Minas Basin. So if you're driving through that area, you're likely to run into some snow. Could be some reduced visibility. Cloud will continue to increase as we make our way through tonight and into the early morning hours of tomorrow, and it is followed up by some areas of some snow and flurries becoming more widespread for the Maritimes. Of course, the increase in cloudiness makes it a little bit more difficult for night sky viewing, but here's a couple of things that you could see in the night sky if you're willing to take your chances with it. It's a waxing crescent moon, 9% illuminated, but it'll be setting on the western horizon this evening. The constellation Orion will be above the southern horizon throughout the night. The Orion's belt there, comprised of 3 stars. It's a minor geomagnetic storm forecast for tonight, which makes spotting the aurora unlikely, though, Todd, it was once again visible in parts of the Maritimes last night.
Yeah, all right. We'll see you a little later for the full look at the forecast, Kaylin. Thank you. Travel nurses will continue working in New Brunswick's Vitalité Health Network. The authority confirms it will not meet its February deadline to eliminate the use of those contract nurses. Vitalité's CEO says nurse recruitment has been a challenge, and the process to phase out travel nurses would continue over the coming months. The New Brunswick Nurses Union says it's not surprised by the February target, that it won't be met, but President Paula Doucette says it has to end as soon as possible.
The sooner the better, but I'm a realist, and I think that if they can actually aim for the end of 2026, then that gives them the opportunity to really be aggressive with their recruitment, but also to look at the different initiatives that it might take to have more New Brunswick nurses into those facilities.
The New Brunswick government has previously said the contracts have been a contributing factor to the province's ballooning deficit. Vitalité has spent more than $200 million on travel nurses since 2002 to fill staffing gaps during the pandemic, for instance. The Health Authority and the Travel Nurse Service are now in court with dueling lawsuits. After months of frustration and safety fears, a new Glasgow shelter could be on the move. Council is bringing people together to work on a new home for the facility. CTV's Emma Convey has this update.
This new Glasgow homeless shelter, funded by the provincial government, has caused concern from community members since it expanded in 2022.
I didn't hear people saying that I don't want the shelter here. I'm saying I don't want people on my steps shooting up. I don't want people passed out on my deck. I don't want people, waking up and finding condoms on my doorstep and needles on my doorstep.
After a public meeting in October and a petition for relocation, the town requested Viola's Place make changes.
Privacy panels are up. You probably saw most of them. We still have one more side left to do. We've signed our security contracts, so they're due to start by the end of the month. The gate is in the process of being fabricated.
Councillor Jim McKenna brought a motion earlier this week to put a group of stakeholders together to determine the best way to move forward.
To form a committee of stakeholders, residents, businesses, councils, members of our community in various capacities to look at the relocation of the present shelter. It is not just about moving a shelter to another location. It's looking much deeper than that.
New Glasgow police say it's experiencing more calls related to housing security, mental health issues, and substance use. It said about Viola's Place in a statement to CTV News, the location must be a best fit for the community, for nearby residents and businesses, and equally for the clients who rely on the shelter services.
It needs to still remain accessible, and even now, we still struggle to have people get to appointments and things like that at the location that we're at.
But not doing it in absence of the voices and the board of directors from the shelter. We want them to be part of this collaborative group because we need to know what their needs are.
For the next 6 months to a year, this committee will explore solutions, but the final decision will inevitably be the province's. At this point in time, the team at Viola's Place is open to working with stakeholders to make changes. But when it comes to a move and interrupting their services, they say that can't happen as it's a busy time for them when their clients need them the most. Emma Convey, CTV News, New Glasgow, Nova Scotia.
We've been following this situation. We have more reporting on the story at our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. The city of Moncton is expanding. A new neighborhood is being built in the growing city, but this will not be an example of suburban sprawl. CTV's Derek Haggett explains why.
There's not much to look at now, but this piece of land could soon be the home for close to 10,000 people. A master plan for the Station Yard subdivision was unanimously approved by City Council this week. Up to 4,500 housing units are in the works, and it's close to retirement homes and a shopping plaza.
Everything is going to be connected, and due to those amenities, the grocery stores, the places of employment, Mountain Road, we were able to really focus on this area as a resident first versus maybe a car-dependent type neighborhood.
The 80-acre parcel of land is located at the busy off-ramp of Wheeler Boulevard and Mountain Road.
It's been sort of vacant, virgin land for, well, since always almost. So finally we get development in that area.
During Monday's meeting, Councillor Daniel Bourgeois raised concerns about the need for new English and French schools.
If you bring in 9,000 people, there's got to be at least 1,000, if not 1,500 students, children. So before we bus them somewhere else, why don't we try to have local schools so they can walk there?
The city says the developer was looking more for residential or potential mixed-use development.
But now knowing the projections of this area and the growth that we're experiencing generally throughout the city, we've been working very closely with the province on identifying areas of growth where schools also would be a good fit.
It's expected to take 10 to 15 years to complete the project. Josh Davies says if everything goes as planned, development on the station yards could begin as early as this year. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
After more than a decade-long partnership, the Cape Breton Regional Municipality has ended talks with a company that had been looking to develop Sydney Harbour. Sydney Harbour Investment Partners, also known as SHIP, had an exclusive contract with CBRM since 2015 to try to build a container terminal. 3 years ago, the group announced plans to build a wind farm in Sydney Harbour, which also didn't happen. A council vote last night on whether to continue negotiations with SHIP ended in a tie, with Mayor Cecil Clark explaining, according to parliamentary procedure, a tie vote means the motion is defeated. Some in the community are now calling for the matter to go to public tender.
After 10 years of a contract that's not been tendered and not seen the light of day, there's a chance that we're now going to go through a formal, professional, transparent process.
Yeah, no, I voted the way I did last night because I believe we have a tremendous opportunity in front of us. There's been a lot of time and effort gone into this process, and I think we should have continued with our negotiations to see through to get a new agreement.
We tried to reach the principal of SHIP, who lives in Montreal, for comment today, but we didn't hear back by airtime.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
There's a push to help military members find careers in the skilled trades and serve Canada in a new way. Now, as CTV's Jesse Thomas reports, there's assistance to make it happen.
When David Timo's military career ended, it took him a few years to figure out what came next. One thing he knew, he didn't want an office job.
As a clearance diver, we did a lot of underwater construction. I did a lot of ships maintenance, and it was a natural flow where you're working with your hands and you're having to use your brain.
The trades felt like a natural fit after his time in uniform, but the path forward wasn't immediately clear.
I was on my own, and it was a big struggle, and it was really hard to get going. I probably lost years just building new relations and having to foster that.
After his service wrapped up on the West Coast, the Kentville native moved back home to Nova Scotia, and he connected with the Helmets to Hard Hats program that helps veterans transition into new careers in the trades.
And within 2 weeks, I was already set up. I had a job to come back to, and I was taken care of.
Premier Tim Houston announced today the province was partnering with Helmets to Hard Hats through the Skills Bridge initiative. A 3-year plan will they'll spend nearly $500,000 to help 100 veterans, reservists, and even their family members get into a trade.
People who serve in our Canadian forces bring such a skill set and such a commitment to what they're doing, employment-wise. So I think we're going to start here. We're big fans of the program.
The National Executive Director says the program helps people thrive outside their military career.
You know, somebody who may have left Nova Scotia as a 18, 19-year-old doesn't have a relationship, may not have a relationship with the unionized skilled trades when they release at the age of 30. So we facilitate that.
The program comes as Nova Scotia continues to face a shortage of skilled trade workers. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
Time for our first break of the evening. Still to come, cold with a light snow developing tonight. Kaylin will have the full details. But next, seeking support.
I don't need help from anybody. But who will help Ayman?
They escaped the ravages of war in Syria only to find new challenges in their new home. We'll have that story next.
This segment brought to you by
Chris Brothers, Atlantic, Canada's Deli.
A Syrian family that left its war-torn country is struggling in its adopted home. Their son lost the use of his legs in an attack as they fled. They told our Laura Brown why, years later, his Canadian dream remains elusive.
Two brothers, each in their own way, carrying the weight of a faraway war. This is the only way Ayman Ottman can leave the house. The 18-year-old can't walk. The family can't afford a ramp, and Ayman hasn't received a penny of support from the province for a year.
We was hearing Canada is the best country. Canada is the best country to take care of, like, Ayman's situation.
Ayman's situation is a mild way to describe what the young Syrian man has been through. While fleeing Syria's civil war in 2012, the family's van was struck by snipers.
So they start to shoot at us like rain, 20 times in a second. They start to shoot at us from everywhere.
Just 5 years old, Ayman was hit near his heart, and the bullet came to a stop in his back. He has never regained the use of his legs. Eamon's English isn't as strong as his older brother's, so Mohammed explains that since coming to Canada, it's been grueling finding support for Eamon. They've applied twice for disability benefits, but haven't been approved.
As a normal person who can walk, I can do whatever I want. I can work, I can do whatever I want. I don't need help from government. I don't need help from anybody. But who will help Eamon?
Hannah Hines, who works with nonprofit Ability New Brunswick, has been working with the family for 2 years.
Every newcomer family has the similar sort of challenges. Disability support service navigation is difficult to navigate for everybody, every Canadian, every individual, and when you add the language barrier on top of things, it definitely adds more work onto things and complicates matters.
The Department of Social Development states that approvals are based on assessments, eligibility, and legislation, but there are no specific disability programs for newcomers. So you have dreams?
Yes, I have a lot of dreams.
Eamon is working on his Canadian citizenship. He wants to learn how to drive and go to university. His brother insists he just needs a little lift to fulfill those dreams. Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
There's a mix of snow and rain for the Maritimes tomorrow. Kaylin Mitchell has the details of what we're going to see land in front of us in the full maritime forecast next. That, of course, the Confederation Bridge, looking at it from the Cape Germain side in New Brunswick, where it was sunny and very cold. Yeah. You can see the sea ice, but also, you know, there's some open areas there, Kellen.
Yeah, nice to see a little bit of blue sky, though. And yeah, you're right. The sea ice, not full coverage, a little bit broken there in the vicinity of the Confederation Bridge. This cold that's in place, Todd, this is our heads up. This is our warning shot, because we have some much deeper cold air. It's broken out of the polar region, coming on.
The appetizer, if you will.
Yes, exactly. Headed our way for the end of this week. So I just want to take a look at that situation one more time, just let people know where this cold air is coming from. We kind of dodged the first round of it. The first round actually made its way through northern areas of Quebec and up through Labrador. I say dodge. We caught a little bit of it, but not the coldest of it. The coldest of it, again, made its way through Labrador and then off the Labrador coastline. What we are going to catch, though, is this second part that's coming back through areas of Manitoba and northern Ontario. So as we take a look at sort of the outlook for this cold air moving in, it's highlighted here through the darker blues and the purples, really moves into place Friday night and around for the upcoming weekend into the start of next week. And these are the daytime highs just for the provincial capitals, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Daytime highs, not overnight lows. And you can see that they're expected to be held down into the minus teens, maybe moderate a little bit Monday, but that's with the possibility of catching some snow. So taking a look at our forecast timeline for cloud cover and precipitation, despite the fact that we have that bitter cold on its way in for the end of this week, it is still a cold night for the Maritimes. And we do have some snow and some flurries that's going to be developing for the region as we move towards and after midnight. And more snow to come through the day for tomorrow for New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island. Initially snow in the morning for Nova Scotia, but moving into it through the afternoon, that snow is expected to mix with or turn over to some light rain. Here's what we can expect to receive out of it. Just taking a look at a little bit of a snowfall outlook. So first of all, there could be some snowy roads in parts of the Maritimes for the morning commute. That does include areas of New Brunswick, which could be starting off the day with some amounts between 1 and 5 centimeters. Parts of the north of Nova Scotia could have 1 to 5 centimeters of snow down, including Cumberland, Colchester counties, Hants County, and parts of the Annapolis Valley. Then through the day on tomorrow, another 1 to 5 centimeters of snow could fall through areas of New Brunswick, as well as for Prince Edward Island. And again, maybe for some of the higher terrain in northern eastern areas of Nova Scotia, but the remainder of Nova Scotia seeing that snow switch over to some light rain as that system moves through. So be careful about some slippery spots on Thursday there. It's not the biggest snow event that we've had of the season, but it doesn't take that much to make things a little bit slick. Taking a look at the winds in the forecast for tomorrow, they'll be out of the west and the southwest. They'll have some gusts between 20 and 50 kilometers per hour. The southwest winds for Nova Scotia, making for the afternoon temperatures to become a little little bit milder. Most of the lows for tonight, though, will be falling several degrees below the freezing mark, down to around -12 for Prince Edward Island, and for the northern half of New Brunswick between -12 and -16. Here's a look at the highs in the forecast for tomorrow, and across the north of New Brunswick between -4 and -7, with central and southern parts of the province with high temperatures mostly between -3 and 0, though a few areas near the Bay of Fundy coastline could get a few degrees above the freezing mark. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow with afternoon temperatures between 0 and 2 degrees. In the east of Nova Scotia, the high temperatures will eventually climb into a range of 2 to 5 degrees. For northern and central parts of the province, high temperatures for tomorrow coming up between 3 and 5 degrees. And into the southwest of Nova Scotia, high temperatures between 4 and 6. In the extended forecast, a couple things to talk about. First of all, we have that deep cold coming in Friday night and around for the upcoming weekend. Snow possible on Monday of next week. That'll depend on exactly how close a coastal storm system gets to the Maritimes as it makes its way towards the North Atlantic. Cold air follows in behind that for Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. For Nova Scotia in the forecast, very cold into and through the upcoming weekend. Watching Monday for the possibility of some snow. That's followed by colder temperatures Tuesday, chance of flurries on Wednesday. And for Prince Edward Island, the story remains the same. So very cold air moving in Friday night. It's around for the weekend. Watching for the possibility of some snow right now on Monday, and that's followed by the return of some colder temperatures for Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, Todd.
Yeah, those are some brutal temperatures. All right, thank you. We'll see you a little later for the wake-up. Next, Caitlin Morrison, sister of Matthew Perry, joins us to discuss her work to improve mental health of Canadians. And we have this story in entertainment.
Hi, guys. It's John Gracie, and I've got a new album coming out, which is kind of unique for me. It's an homage to the great Gordon Lightfoot, and it's got 7 songs on it, and it's called The Gentle Homage to Gordon Meredith Lightfoot Jr. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about it in just a few seconds.
This segment brought to you by
Chris Brothers, Atlantic, Canada's Deli.
Welcome back. It's Bell Let's Talk Day, the annual initiative to promote and support positive mental health. Tonight, we're pleased to welcome Caitlin Morrison, Executive Director of Matthew Perry House, which honors her brother's legacy. And it is nice to see you. You are no stranger to the East Coast here.
It's nice to see you, and I'm pleased myself, and that's true. One of the most beautiful parts of our country, so I'll try to get there as much as I can.
Thank you for that. We like to think so. So tell us a bit about the place. Construction, you've broken ground. Construction starts soon in Ottawa. What's the mission for Matthew Perry House?
Well, the mission for the place itself is to give people a place where they can go, where they can access recovery supports for a longer amount of time, where they can do so in an environment that helps them rebuild not just, you know, a healthier way of living, but also their careers, their family relationships, their nutritional approach to life, you name it. Anything that can, you know, help people return to a life, not just that they're ready to return to, but that they really want to return to, because it's pretty great.
There's been a lot of work in recent years, of course, to improve mental health supports, but post-treatment, that hasn't received the same level of attention. Clearly, it's important.
No, so it doesn't, and it is very important. You know, if you ask any neuroscientist, and I'm sure everybody knows one, they'll tell you it takes the brain a certain amount of time to heal, and it's sheer madness to assume that you know, treatment shouldn't last that long. But then the other thing that doesn't get addressed quite as much, and we're trying to address that too, is why is it that we only start to think about treatment when people have reached a state of crisis, when things have started to fall apart? Why can't we talk more about substance use health as something that impacts everyone, and about how, you know, it's not necessarily about use versus sobriety. It's about what is your relationship with substances. Do you feel that your quality of life is being impacted? And if it is, can it be improved by redefining what that relationship is? And I hope that that kind of work might prevent people from getting to the point where they do need that long-term intensive care.
Okay, well, that's interesting because we've talked a lot over the last decade or so about preventative health care, not just dealing with the problem when it gets into the hospital and everything that comes after that. So, you know, same sort of thinking with mental health?
Yeah, preventative health care for your brain, for one of the most important parts of your body.
Yeah. You say it's important to raise your hand. Don't do it alone.
I say that because Matthew said that, and it's absolutely true. You know, the inner workings of our mind, when we get a thought in there, a negative thought of any kind, and we keep it inside there, it gets louder and louder and louder. It's an echo chamber in there. And raising your hand, asking for help, admitting the thing that you're thinking, it takes a problem that seems unbeatable and it makes it a size that's manageable, and it surrounds you with people who want to help you tackle it. It's a fool's errand to think that that you can solve on your own, in your own mind, something that is, lives inside your own mind.
I've heard you distinguish between, when it comes to your brother, superstar and hero.
Yeah.
What do you mean by
I've
that?
used that one.
Yeah, what's the difference there?
Well, the superstar version of him, I love and I'm proud of very much. He was incredibly funny. Sometimes funnier off screen because he could say some things that would have been inappropriate for cameras. He was charming. He could switch from comedy to drama, no problem. He was he was a great writer too. He was just very talented in a lot of different ways in terms of his career, in terms of what he did, and people knew him, and I've seen people rush him, and I mean, the dude was a superstar.
Yeah,
proud of that. But something that he did that is probably the bravest and hardest thing that he did was deciding that when he went through something that was very difficult personally, that felt like he was being defeated over and over again by something, he could have done that quietly. He could have tried to sort of keep those, the details of those struggles to himself, but he decided he was going to share all of the horrible pieces of it, all of the hard pieces of it, because he knew other people were going through it. And he thought, if I say this out loud, people might decide that they do want to raise their hand and they do want to ask for help. And I know that people do that because people have reached out to me to say, I want to let you know. Yeah. I read the book, I saw a speech, and I realized I'm not the only person who's ever felt this way. I realized I could ask for help, and I did, and life is so much better now. And so to those people, and to any future person who is impacted by what he did, he was not just a superstar, he was a superhero.
There's a concert documentary airing on Crave, musicians, artists sharing their personal stories about issues like that. Did you find all of them somehow lifted by telling their stories as much as, say, people who hear them?
I think so. I think so. A lot of them that I've spoken to, before and after the concert, they talk about how music to them is a balm to their soul. It's a very healing thing, and in sharing it, they feel like they're sharing part of that healing. But when they share the feelings behind it, that opens up a whole community of people. You end up drawing people to you who can relate to the things you're going through, and that's another way to not feel quite as alone, is sharing that story when you do have that platform. And so the concert itself was the most fun thing that I've ever done in my professional career of anything. The music was amazing, the artists were amazing, it felt like kind of a dream state doing it all. But what they are doing is the artists, what they're doing is that same heroic thing that Matthew did, and that is deciding to be vulnerable because it might help somebody else find a better life.
Caitlin Morrison, thank you very much for your time. We hope to see you back in the Maritimes soon, and congratulations on the Matthew Perry house, of course, and in the documentary. We appreciate your time tonight.
Oh, well, thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you out there again soon.
We will take a timeout, but before we go to break, we want to let you know that if you are experiencing a crisis, we ask you to call 911 or go to your closest hospital. If you're thinking or having thoughts of suicide, you can call the National Helpline toll-free anytime. There it is on your screen, 988. We will be back in 2 minutes. In health news tonight, the continuous spread of measles over the past year is leaving the United States at risk of losing its elimination status. CTV's Amanda Debison has more in the Lifeline.
International health authorities will meet this spring to determine whether the U.S. has lost its measles-free designation. Canada recently lost its achievement of having eliminated the disease. The reevaluation is largely symbolic and hinges on whether a single measles chain has spread uninterrupted within the U.S. for at least 12 months. But doctors and scientists say the U.S. and all of North America have a measles problem, regardless of the decision. A new study by the American Academy of Pediatrics says setting limits on screen time for children is not enough. The study tracked hundreds of other studies on the topic and says the increasingly digital world affects children's sleep, learning, and mental health. However, experts say high-quality digital media can promote pro-social behaviors and language development. They say parents paying attention to what kids are watching is much more beneficial than only limiting their screen time. Finally, continuous glucose monitors may be a hot wellness trend, but new research suggests that they may not be very helpful for managing your blood sugar. A continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, is a wearable device that monitors the levels of your blood sugar throughout the day. Although they may be of use to people with diabetes, a study published in the journal Diabetes Technology and Therapeutics found they did not offer much benefit to people without diabetes. With health and medical news, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
We're on the scene tonight with Katie Kelly, a respectful tribute from one Canadian songwriter to another. He's one of my favorite guys. I haven't seen him in a while. Used to talk to him all the time. I'm so happy that you're doing this.
John Gracie, who we are talking about, the Nova Scotian musician. Well, he's releasing a gentle homage to Gordon Meredith Lightfoot Jr.
Her fragrant soul in my keeping.
Award-winning singer-songwriter John Gracie has 16 albums to his name, but the latest is a different approach.
I think it's the kind of album you sit down and you can relax and turn the volume down and just enjoy the landscape.
If you could read my mind, what a tale my thoughts could tell.
It's a new project inspired by a true Canadian legend, the late Gordon Lightfoot.
Lightfoot is one of those artists that you shouldn't imitate. And so I picked 7 that were appropriate. And I did them as what I call a gentle homage, because all the songs are gently handled, kind of brought down a little bit.
Gracie says it's about paying respect to Lightfoot, whose work has truly stood the test of time. What is it about his songwriting? What makes him so special?
You know what? They asked him that in an interview, and he said it the best that I can remember. He said it's simplicity with a touch of class.
The way I feel is like a robin.
A lifelong fan, his first memory of Lightfoot dates back to childhood.
Well, I was immediately drawn to what he was doing. And I actually remember that I think that made me go into my old bedroom, and in the closet I found this guitar that my mother had bought me a couple of years earlier, and I started playing Lightfoot songs.
And while the heart of the project is Lightfoot's writing, the sound is completely different.
There's an electric guitar, there's some oboe, and there's piano.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so it's really different for a Lightfoot listener. You're not going to hear the guitars and that kind of stuff. It's a completely different genre, which is really what I wanted to do.
A gentle homage to Gordon Meredith Lightfoot Jr. is out January 26th. Available on all major streaming platforms.
I'm very pleased with the way it worked because it's completely different, and I think the Lightfoot fans will enjoy it for that.
I don't know where we went wrong, but the feeling's gone, and I just can't get it back.
A gentle homage.
Isn't that lovely?
Very spa-like.
Yes. So again, it will be out on Monday. You're definitely going to want to listen to these 7 songs from John Grace.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you to John. We'll be right back after this. It was quite a turnaround for the Dow Jones today, which closed up 588 points as North American markets were quick to respond to what the U.S. president had to say about Greenland. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez explains.
The markets tanked on Tuesday with the threats against Greenland. So when the U.S. president took military action off the table earlier today, investors were relieved. Then early this afternoon, Trump posted a deal had been made on Greenland, and so he wouldn't impose tariffs on European countries. Immediately, the North American market spiked, the TSX gaining over 100 points, the S&P 500 also shooting up. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up a fraction to 72.31. West Texas Intermediate is up to 60.62. Western Canadian Select slightly up to 45.32. And the TSX gained 101 points today to close at 32,851. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Kellen Mitchell, everything's up except that the temperatures.
Yes, that is definitely down. It is a cold evening out here in the north end of Halifax. Our viewer picture for tonight features a frozen, snowy landscape. And this is near Amherst, Nova Scotia, and it is following the snow that made its way in Sunday into Monday for the Maritimes. So I want to thank Sheila Graham and Ralph Beliveau very much for sharing that picture. Amherst for tomorrow. Can expect some snow in the morning, likely to mix with some rain in the afternoon as the high temperature climbs up to near 3 degrees. Our day planner for tomorrow across the Maritime region, we do start off snowy for many parts of the Maritimes, except for areas of the southwest of Nova Scotia that at that time may already starting to see a little bit of rain mix in. It's not a tremendous amount of snow in the forecast for tomorrow, but it is enough that it could lead to some snow-covered surfaces, so be careful about slippery spots out there. As for Thursday afternoon around the region, it's mostly expected to be cloudy with a mixture of snow and rain clearing off towards the east. Winds for tomorrow will be out of the west and the southwest, and they'll be sustained between 20 and 30 kilometers per hour, with a few gusts between 30 and 50 kilometers per hour. The temperature is turning milder for the province of Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and parts of the south of New Brunswick, but remaining colder for northern areas of New Brunswick. Let's find out what's coming up on Your Morning Atlantic.
Thursday on Your Morning Atlantic, have you already blown your January budget?
Many of us start the year with a money plan, but that plan fails by February. We'll ask a financial planner how to stay on track.
Start your morning with us Thursday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Finally for us tonight, a cow in Austria has proven that she might be the sharpest tool in the shed. Meet 13-year-old Veronica, capable of using tools such as a long-handled broom to scratch an itch. And she can decide whether to use the brush or the handle, depending on which part of her body she wants to reach. Veronica started by picking up branches and scratching herself, but then developed the technique of using human tools, as you can see. Cows are not known for their intelligence, and her skill has left many scientists from the veterinary community, especially those at the University of Vienna, flabbergasted. So they are studying what she is able to do. They want to find out if other cows are capable of it too. That is our look at our day here at home. Bruce Frisco is here at 11:30. I'm off the next couple of nights, so you'll be in good hands with Bruce here at 6 o'clock. CTVNewsAtlantic.ca has the polls and updates. I'm Todd Battis. I hope you'll join us again tomorrow night. Till then, have a good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.